For example, sometime back, if I can say 2014, I developed a framework for MRI image for Alzheimer's disease prediction. So, so from your MRI image, I would be able to help you identify whether you have Alzheimer's, what is the stage of Alzheimer's, and what is the progress. Now, more and more input feed that the software would get, more and more it has become robust. Now, Alzheimer's is, what is Alzheimer's? There is, do you know what is Alzheimer's disease?
Yes, sir.
Forgetfulness, degeneration. So now these kind of systems will learn more and more because more and more MRI images I feed into the system. More and more they learn from those images, and more the prediction systems become robust. Isn't it? So, whereas, as I was mentioning, the smart thermostat does not need so much input. Yeah? So, how fast does the relevance of the user data depreciate? Any efforts on this?
I don't know.
All responses are coming from one side, and I don't think he's a student. So,
click on.
Okay, yes.
The relevancy of data regarding that particular technology also goes along, dies along with.
Okay, nice. Actually, very nice. Anyone? There are the students' participation. Okay.
User data gets depreciated very fast.
Okay, so let us take some example. So as I was mentioning, your search engines. Your search engines are learning a lot more from you. So each time you type a query, the system automatically highlights the remaining set of keywords, right? You just have to type 2-3 keywords, and the rest of the query automatically gets highlighted, right? I hope you would agree. Yes. So what is happening here? It is learning a lot from other users who are trying to search the similar sentence. You may not be the first user who is trying to search the same content. There were many other users who have been searching the same content. So while you have been typing that query, the system is so smart enough that it's able to prompt the remaining set of questions for you. And you just have to use your mouse to just select it, and then you are getting your responses in few fraction of seconds, isn't it? Yes. So the user data is not depreciating it is appreciating. On the contrary, when I look at your games, the games that you're playing. So for example, you have PS1, and now you have gone to say level 20 of a game, and you have now migrated to PS2. Is PS2 learning what is your performance in PS1? No, right? You are again starting from ground zero. So whatever user data that PS1 has learned from you has all gone down. Yeah, there is no transfer learning that is happening from PS1 to PS2. Yes. Yeah. So this is the point I'm trying to arrive at, because certain data will help you augment your product. Certain data is going to depreciate. So it is very important for you to qualify in terms of which data is going to augment my product offering and which is not going to augment my product offering any further. Yes. Now, I hope you understand why am I explaining all of this to you, because tomorrow when you want to, so-called, I saw a pretty good response when all of you want to be entrepreneurs, right? Yes or no? Yes. And I also got to know that all of you are interested in investing in startups, isn't it? All of this is going to help you evaluate your opportunities. So when you are looking at your next new startups to invest in, or you want to start your own, you need to immediately classify that if more and more people are going to use my product or service, how well it's going to augment it, or it is not going to add too much value. Because if more and more people are going to use it and it's going to add value to you, your economic value is going to increase manifold. Yeah. So the next thing is the data proprietary? Can it be purchased, re-engineered, copied, etc., etc., etc.? Any? Only students, because I'm seeing professors are only responding. So. But I'm audible. I'm audible, right? Yeah, sure. So, any efforts on this? Strictly students. Okay, explain more, explain more. Give me, okay. Why don't you take an example to explain your statement? Okay. One minute, he's responding then. Please.
Today, Zomato and Swiggy are doing the same thing, providing the insights for the
Mm-hmm.
so we can copy the data, sir.
And where do you get access to such data so that you can copy and you can create another Zomato Swiggy for that matter?
So the Zomato and Swiggy are providing the data for the hotels.
Agree. Now the thing is, what is the point all about here? Is the data that you possess is proprietary in nature, or someone else can, find the data in abundance and they can also start the same business as what you're doing? The question here is, if you have a plethora of data, is the data so exclusive to you, or can it be, engineered, copied,
No, sir.
purchased, so on and so forth, and I can create another business equivalent to what I've already done? That's the question.
Most of the data is available in public domain.
Available in public domain? Maybe, okay. Any other? Yeah, you were trying to. Yeah, please.
For example, data can be purchased from iOS,
Mm-hmm.
where they keep the bills confidential.
So, which kind of businesses are having this as a pro and a con? Can you explain? Which are the businesses which can be easily copied, and which are the businesses that are very exclusive in nature?
For example, if we are trying to search something on Google, and on Android we get ads on Amazon, Flipkart as well. For example, if you are using Wink Music, there we'll get the ad low. But in iOS, it's not going to happen, where our data is secure.
No. So the point here and the point that you are highlighting are distinct right now. We will, of course, that is a very valid point. But having said that, that is not addressing the question at hand. The question at hand is, while you may be custodian of some kind of data, is it possible for me to, suppose you are an entrepreneur, you have a plethora of data. If I wish to get into the same business as well, can I find the same data publicly available? Can I copy it? Can I, modify, manipulate my data, and then create business as equivalent as yours? Or the data that you possess is so exclusive to you that it is very difficult for me to even find that data and create a business model as well.
Sir, the data genuinity is one issue.
I agree. I'm talking about which are the businesses which are in favor of this and which are not in favor. Okay. 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 Now. Okay.
The applications use the data which we use on Google. Anything we search on Google is directly recorded on our social media.
True.
The data is copied over there.
True.
Outsourced.
No. So I think so. You guys are. Let me explain the question once again so that I'm able to get the kind of response that I wish to give. Uh-huh. Okay, you were wanting. Yeah, please.
I think any kind of sensitive data is basically the proprietary data. Say for example, patient's data, you do get in a public domain, okay, and it's I mean, sharing that is also very, very ethically. It is not also done. Legally also it is not done. So there are plethora of data which are in this domain sensitive.
Exactly. Okay. Okay.
Some data can be shared on even to others using any academic document
Mhm.
which may be confidential. And suppose as sir said, patient data can be given to others by making an agreement not share with others.
So let us take one classic example like loan apps. All of you have heard loan. Now all of these loan apps, etc., they are all using your CIBIL scores and other scores, right? So there is hardly any distinction between A loan provider and B loan provider. The interest rates may change, the terms and conditions depending on your CIBIL score may change, but bottom line they all are trying to take the same primary, the credit scoring data. Let's not take any names, but same credit scoring data, and then they're able to craft a model around it, and then extend you loans accordingly. Yes. So there is nothing proprietary about it. On the contrary, the point that was highlighted, patient data, or the disease prediction data I was mentioning, this is very exclusive in nature. You can't create a business model because one, the data sharing, the privacy norms and many other aspects come into play. It becomes it is an impediment for you to share any data with the ecosystem. Yeah. So that's the aspect here. So your speech recognition, etc. You can always take your speech data and you can always create a machine learning model around your speech data because you will have a lot of sample data available for your experiments, etc. So you can create many models. But on the contrary, your crop AdWeb is basically a pretty interesting firm, where they have these highly specialized cameras which are able to see small pigments on the leaves and able to identify what is the nutrition deficiency or the disease that the plant has. Okay, and these are high resolution cameras. So the kind of base data that this firm is sitting on, it is very difficult for any new firm to have all that data, have all that learning, have all that classification, and start at the entry barrier is pretty high. Yeah. So that makes it very proprietary in nature and creates an obstacle for your competitors to get into this space. Even if they get into, they are already at a lag.
So, if you look at the Web 3.0 technology startups, when it comes to the data are very secured. It's clearly visible in the public domain, public ledger mainly, in the centralized exchanges. And it's protected, it's not visible actually in the decentralized exchanges like Uniswap when it comes to the crypto technologies like Binance and all. Transactions are not visible to the public.
So, could you elaborate your point?
They can't look into the data when it comes to some of the metaverse startups like Loka, Meta, Facebook mainly. They can't track the data in decentralized exchange.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to evaluate a bit more. Right now I have not evaluated, so I will not be able to comment. How hard it is to imitate product improvement that are based on customer data? Hmm? Okay, speak louder because I want many of your fellow students to also listen, and also I would also like to know if there is anyone who agrees or disagrees. Okay, so could you please?
I think like it is very easy to imitate because we have like the similar kind of products available in the market. So it's not hard.
Not hard. All of you agree? Are there no examples where it is there is an antithesis to the statement? Are there no examples whatsoever?
Patient data, there are patents, copyrights drawn out. You can't imitate all the data exactly.
True.
Two types of thing in product. So one is like visible to the customer and one is like not visible to the customer. So like for example, as you said about ADAS, so what is going on inside the ADAS for different companies might not be visible
because that's the code which is running or the hardware which is running there. But some of the things which are very visible that can be replicated easily, but some of the things which are not readily.
Very important point. Very important point. Yes.
And in Toyota, they are producing Galaxy Glanza model, sir. They can only copy the design, but they cannot copy the mechanism or the technology inside the products.
If any set of consumer want different types of feature in a product, so it is not necessary that another set of consumer will accept that change.
Okay, yes, this is very important point. Okay, please.
So it might vary that if we launch a new product according to the changes that consumers are preferred to, it might not work in market for every demographic. So, like for example, Maggi sir, it launched different types of flavors and products, but originality of Maggi is only that Maggi product what all the Indians prefer. So, this is my point.
This section is very silent. So, for example, the point I wanted to bring here is there is this company called Pandora, Google Maps, or Netflix, etc. The kind of genres that they have classified for any given movie, the number of variables that they have used for classifying any given movie are so exhaustive in nature. It is very difficult for anyone else to copy, imitate, and the point that you were trying to highlight. The software is so complex and sophisticated in nature. It is very difficult for any other compete to replicate that same, because the depth of understanding that they have given, the domain understanding that they have, or classification, or the characteristics that they have utilized in this entire product definition is highly sophisticated and creates a huge value. And also which makes it difficult for others to imitate. On the contrary, Apple Maps and Google Maps, while you'll find Asia is a very big hub for your Android phones, Apple has a significant market share in US. So Apple Maps are very very robust when it comes to US navigation systems, but they are not able to learn so effectively in other geographies because Apple phones uptake is not so much. Yeah, so they are not able to the ability to copy it and make it more sophisticated, reliable, and accurate in nature is a, because many of those cartographic systems are not that robust in many of the geographies. Yes. So, are you able to relate to this topic? So, does the data from one user help improve the product for the same as well as other users? Yes. Examples, please. Examples. So let's take a far more simpler example that you and I are going to use daily. Google search. Okay. What you type, the learning that, so you may have typed a query for the first time. He or I may tomorrow write the same question. So while they may use the first three keywords, the rest of the query has come up because it has learned from you. So not only it is helping you, it is also helping others. Isn't it? But there are certain examples where it may not be applicable. Any efforts on that? Take a shot on that. Let's try this section. This section has to respond. Yes. Okay, I'll not go into so much. So let us look at the classic case where it does in both the cases. So Pandora is a system where you do very simple demarcation of using a thumbs up and a thumbs down. With that simple thumbs up and thumbs down, what is happening is the system is so robust that the number of parameters that they have used, utilized. So one thumbs up means X. So they have tried to create such a robust supervised learning framework that with one thumbs up, a given music has all of these characteristics. Similarly, so more and more thumbs up you do, more and more they're able to zero down on what is the common cluster among the music that you like. And hence they're able to recommend more efficient music to you, but the entire knowledge and intelligence is lying within the system. Okay, so one user's data is only helping itself, not others. On the contrary, Spotify, I may create my own preferred music list, and you can also start listening to my music list and see whether which are those songs that you like and dislike. Isn't it? Yes. Do you guys use Spotify or not? Yes. Excellent. So in Spotify, I can always go into others' recommendations and then see which songs I like and not like, isn't it? But in Pandora, the knowledge and intelligence is lying only within that system and relevant for that given user. So in this case, unlike in other cases where I showed where it does and where it doesn't, in this case it does in both the equations. So if you see, that is the anomaly. Yes? How fast can the insights from one user data be incorporated into products? Examples? Could you elaborate, please?
All other sites.
So what is the insight that you are getting from a payment gateway? Could you elaborate?
It's like now India is growing as a digital market, and the payment gateways are everywhere. People are using the payment gateways. So the data which we are getting, that everywhere we are having the payment gateways used. So WhatsApp also now came up with the payment gateway, which you can do it easily with the WhatsApp.
So the question is the insight that you are getting from utilizing a payment gateway. What are the enhancements that you are able to see in WhatsApp payment gateway? Are you able to see any additional enhancements? So the question is, how fast the insights from the user data be incorporated into the product itself? That is, the learning that it is able to, the insight that it is generating, how fast it is easy to incorporate in the product itself?
The enhancement I could see is like they have categorized the normal user and the user who is having some business. So if I use the WhatsApp now, it would be directly be going to the business. I could see that it would be directly be going to the business. So that is one of the enhancement which I could not see in the Google Pay, or I could not see that into the Paytm, because they are not recognizing as a business. But here we can recognize as a business, because now we can take a business WhatsApp, which was not there before, right? So that could be going to the business directly rather than going to the anywhere else. So that could be one of the enhancement they might be trying out.
Sir, one more thing I would like the bar pay, like PhonePe and all, they had one scanner, and bar pay like accommodated all the interfaces in one thing, and that they put their scanner, so now it's easy interface between all the apps. So I think they took that and formed one more product out of it.
Okay. Okay. So how are you capturing the influencers data? Which kind of ecosystems are using this influencers content? Okay. So again, my favorite examples: Maps, Google search. Yeah, it is very easy to incorporate the intelligence, right? Because if every day my office hours comes to end by 6 p.m. and it's Monday to Friday, traffic jam is going to be there. Yeah. So tomorrow when you have to search that, say, okay, tomorrow is Sunday, but on Monday, you have to go from point A to point B during evening 6 p.m. The travel time is again going to look extended. Yeah. So it is very easy to incorporate the learning into the product, isn't it? And of course, it will like to study the the proximity of various smartphones in the same area, and of course that intelligence will calibrate accordingly. But by and large, the intelligence will be easy to transfer. Yes. But on the contrary, your online lenders, there's hardly any edge you are creating, right? Because all of you are using same CIBIL score or same credit rating scores. Yeah. Any doubts? Anyone has any different opinion? Then okay.
Some new business variations I'm seeing in that, let's say, open banking, which is popular in Europe, right? Which is, it's not about one banking. They work with multiple bankings, and then it's like reading the information from the customers, and then suggesting them that this could be the best offer for them coming from this bank, right? So it's, I mean, not based upon the CIBIL score only. It's based upon multiple other things.
Agree. And there are many other systems that are using alternate data. I am not disputing the fact that the lending ecosystem is only using credit rating scores. They are also using other alternate data, and alternate data is now giving that additional edge. Additional edge. For example, I can study my electricity consumption, and if a company here is telling that my turnover is going down, but its electricity bill is going up, then there is an anomaly, right? So I can always understand, the financial statements may have some kind of anomalies. Yeah, it's possible, right? How can your telephone bill go up or your electricity bill go up, and here you are telling my turnover is coming down, my tax liability is coming down. Yeah, there's something to think about, isn't it? So no, you can't directly draw a conclusion, but at least it will raise some eyebrows for you to investigate more and identify more patterns. Yeah, how come? How come? So these are some facts. Yeah. So so does data confer to network effects? What is network effect? Do you understand what is network effect?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, I have a doubt.
Please.
Actually, Bangalore Traffic, in collaboration with Google Maps, they have come up with an innovation like in the traffic signals. Suppose in a particular signal we have to wait for 60 seconds, and if there are no vehicles, the time limit decreases from 60 seconds, so automatically it comes to 20 seconds. Can this be an example for the concept which you talked previously?
So the user data is able to, those insights I'm able to quickly incorporate in the product. Yes, it is a fantastic example, because if the traffic at the signal, if the camera is there and it's seeing that the traffic density used to be so much before, and now the traffic density is far lesser, for whatever may be the concerns, the wait time can definitely be shrunk automatically. So I can definitely write those kind of advanced algorithms to study what is my traffic density, what is the, so I can do my, using computer vision algorithms, I can count number of vehicles. And if I see that the today's distribution is a, at the first quartile, is at first quartile, then definitely I don't need such long waiting time. Yes? Because if the vehicles are not this many, why should I make a passenger wait or any vehicle? Rightly so. So network effect basically means, in simple terms, if more and more people use it, if the learning from one can be incorporated into the system more effectively and efficiently. So does data, confer to network effects? We have understood that certain data actually confers to network effect, and certain data does not confer to network effect, isn't it? So, so this is what I wanted to cover, and of course, other thing I wanted to highlight today was, since most of you want to be entrepreneur, and I encourage you to do that. Apart from empathy, what you need to also do is you need to build that ability to observe, question, look at the associating factors in the ecosystem, do the right kind of networking within your ecosystem to find the effective solution. Maybe you have to collaborate with your other engineering colleges or any other domain related institutions so that you can get the necessary domain. Because what do you think is the job of MBA? No. While it may be, but networking is a byproduct. What is the core? Okay, what is the core job of a doctor? Alleviate patient's pain, right? In simple words, alleviate patient's pain is job of a doctor. What's the job of a lawyer?
Right against the
Yeah?
devices.
And what do you think is the job of MBA? Now, do you think this group should answer? Yes? Okay, so this group has to answer. What do you think is the job of MBA? Manage people. Okay.
So innovation to societal problems.
Okay, very good. Good, very good. Any other efforts? Okay, that's also very interesting. Any other? Actually, to be very honest, I'm getting very good input, so I think we should build on that momentum. Really, these two are very important points. If you can stitch it together, you'll create something very interesting. Okay. So, job of an MBA is to create value and monetize. Simple line. All other is all jargon, but how you can create value. Okay. Now, what does create value mean? For example, if I wish to have, say, I don't know what is the, say, I like, say, biryani, for example. Okay, I have the one more for biryani, I come from it. I wish to have biryani. Now, the thing is, my favorite restaurant is, say, almost some 40 kilometers away from my house. I can't, and I am also equally like this, but I don't want to drive 40 kilometers and have my biryani. So, somebody found that there is an opportunity. Why don't I create a platform where the seller is also telling that, I make good biryani. It is also creating a platform that all the buyers can, come and visit that platform and look at their favorite dishes and then place an order. And they create an ecosystem where, the seller is able to offer the product to the buyer. Is it not creating value? Yeah? So what do you think the job can be?
Take an example of Zomato. Zomato is not a place. They are already so much into
No, so the question that you are coming about is the business model. Okay, so business model is a separate question. We will come on to that. But having said that, the value here is, for example, Book My Show. Book My Show is a profitable business. What do you think Book My Show does? Yeah. So you have various shows, artists, cinemas, etc. All the entertainment related ecosystem on one side. On the other side, you have you as a consumer. What kind of entertainment you would like to experience? You are able to identify that and then make the appropriate booking. Yes. And is it not profitable? Yes, it is profitable. Yeah. So business model is a separate equation, but MBA, what is the job of MBA? Create value and so building areas and skill sets in the digital and VUCA world. What is VUCA? Louder.
Certainty.
Ambiguous or agility? Ambiguous, right? Yes? Okay. So, there are 6 essential skills. We'll build on this further. Digital communication, agile practices and digital technologies, digital business model, compliance and risk, because as you mentioned, your name, please? Yeah. Yeah, as Professor Sharma highlighted, that patient data it becomes very risky to share patient data so easily. There are a lot of compliance and risks that come into play. Journey thinking and data-driven thinking. Let's elaborate on this further. So broadly, these are the 4 components that you need to look at. And why? So let's understand the why part. All this theory will always come, but let's understand the why part. The why part is the technology is actually start. What is technology doing? It is augmenting you, right? So any augmentation when it starts, and end of the day, world is looking at productivity. A system can do same job at far more significant speed with same accuracy or maybe more superior accuracy than a human being. Yes. So I'm getting, the speed and accuracy at the same end itself, isn't it? So if you study many reports, be it from Gartner or Forrester or many other such reports, you would see that automation is going to take up a large number of jobs because a lot of these processes, any company is what? People, process, technology, and governance. Any company has only these 4 components. So when my processes are organized in nature, I can very easily automate them. So those jobs that existed in the non-digital world now will cease to exist because technology is now going to automate this and at a faster, you are going to get the speed and accuracy again with it. Yes? So the earlier processes that were there are now going to be replaced by a bot. So what do you think the human mind will do? It has to now work on the insights that are coming out of this data. The rudimentary work would be done by these machines. The intellectual piece or the working on the insights and taking action on those insights is what a human mind has to come into play into effect. So what are those things? So that's why you have your cognitive section here, which will help you do your critical thinking, structured thinking, logical thinking, isn't it? Right? So these are some skills that you definitely need. So these are the 4 components that you definitely need to look at. On one hand, you need to have your algorithmic thinking and computational thinking, because can this process be automated? Can I use technology to bring in more speed and efficiency in the same work? Yeah. Can I save my time? Can I reduce the turnaround time of any given activity? People nowadays have lost, they're a bit more impatient than before, right? We want things clean energy free, right? So technology is going to give you that edge, isn't it? So unless until you embrace technology and bring that to your advantage, you will not be able to compete with the rest, right? So this is what I thought I'll conclude today's session with. So that's it from me. Any questions? Or I think so we had a pretty interactive session, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anshul Ghosh, for such an interactive session. Now it's time for our second keynote speaker to address the audience. I would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Chatterjee, Director at Deloitte India. Mr. Sandeep is engaged with advisory practice at Deloitte. Prior to that, he has worked with KPMG, Tata Motors, Infosys, Lafarge, and Oracle Consulting, and his key strengths lie in the areas of supply chain management, business process reengineering, network optimization, and so on.
He holds an MBA from IIM Kozhikode and did his BE in Mechanical Engineering from Bengal Engineering and Science University, Shibpur. Among his various accolades and awards, Mr. Sandeep became the recipient of the coveted MTC Global Awards for Excellence 2017 as an Outstanding Corporate Award Consulting. He is an avid marathoner. Today he is going to walk us all through the power of analytics in decision making. I would now request Mr. Sandeep Chatterjee to come on the stage and enlighten us. Please, sir.
Good afternoon. And I know it has been quite an enriching session, and I was very intensely listening to it. A lot of insights. So again, thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege to be here. So before I start, let me just again one or two questions. So how many engineers are here? I'm very happy because our batch had 98% engineers, and all engineers think alike. That was not a very good way for an MBA college. Very honest. World has changed. The gender ratio, roughly. Great. We had a batch size of 66, 60 guys, 6 girls, and out of the 6 girls, 4 were married. So think about the odds which were. But having said that, again, I am from a similar B school. We were still a boarding school. I was in the 5th batch. We went to the new campus for 3 months, and you should be lucky that you are getting chance to build the institute, because you don't get this chance in life. So most of us joined very well settled institutes, and of course it's good. I would say your risks are less. But I think once in a life you get a chance to build. So I come from that era where we had nothing. We ran our own mess, we ran our own placements, we ran everything. And understand the kind of the perception was, oh, I am Koikod. That's like IIT Gold, there are no placements. So from there we have come that way. I think this 10 years down the line, you will really feel grateful that you were part of this journey, because the kind of things you are going through, this will build for your life. Because today I don't shy away from risks. And again, that's maybe the way we were, the circumstances made you that. So again, today I'm going to talk about something on the power of analytics again. I will not put too much again. You guys are definitely better than us because Darwin's theory, right? You are a smarter and a better race than us. But having said that, we have spent more time in this universe. So we have made more mistakes. So we have a lot to offer you. So that's how I think we can make it a much better way. Now let me just start with analytics. Why are we even talking about analytics now? Because that always exists. A classic example, if you have any of you have heard about the rock band Van Halen, it's a 1972 band, and if you look at YouTube, the way they were somehow very flashy group, very expensive, and they were very, very particular about the height of the stage, the particular light. They were very particular about everything. And if they went to a sponsor, they had a 60-70 page contract. And why I'm talking about it? Because again, I love to tell stories. That's how I build it. See, you have to ensure that somebody has read that contract, and it's not possible for them to come to stage 6-7 hours ago and check everything. So they use it's like we have too much of data. Which data to use? So they have a very, very interesting thing to do. You know these M&M chocolates, right? So they used to tell the organizers, you put it in a bowl, but don't put the brown ones. So they only used to check that. So if somebody has read the contract, he must have done that. So that's how they ensured that they got everything in place. And please look for Van Halen. I think it's a rock band, and you will look at it's very flashy. I think one of my favorites. And if you have not heard about it, that's okay, because I came to know about it only a month ago. But I'm a big fan, very honest about it. So let's get started. Again, this is a standard disclaimer, because if you look at it again, I don't need it here. But whenever you will be talking to media, and chances that you will be misquoted, because it happens all the time. And particularly in consulting, Anshuman will agree that it so happens that I take sound from somewhere and put it as mine. So in order to So again, I have a very, very structured presentation, because that's how I've been doing it again. Consulting thrives wherever there's ambiguity. See, when COVID stuck, everybody was rushing to these consulting firms to help us. So this is where, that's why what consultants, they give a structure to the problem and try to arrive at a solution. And again, some of you may feel actually bad that you don't make a decision because you help your customers make a decision. Again, I leave it to you which field you want to join into. But I'm just trying to say that we will quickly talk about analytics because analytics always existed. Look at the way your mother manages the house. She only anticipates. It's like prescriptive analytics. She knows for the next 1 week what to buy, what to stock, how much inventory you need to have. So all this has been there. But the problem today is the customer tolerance time has reduced drastically because we have very impatient race. In fact, if you look at it the way we grew up, we used to have this Kodak camera and you actually take 36 of them. There are no retakes and you have to go to a photo studio, get it developed. It's a 2 weeks. But today you click it, you immediately put it on your social media. You are very, again, nothing against anybody, that's how the world is moving. In fact, business is also partly to blame for, we have too many choices and too many choices again. I think that's where everybody is trying to capture the pie. So let's move on. I will just look at how analytics has evolved over the years because there's a lot of hype, some of the myths I want to look at it. First is it is always a long term because a lot of people do expect results very fast. But understand that it's not a 3-month, 6-month journey. You have to actually invest in it and it's a journey you are taking. Don't be impatient because a lot of times we want things very fast. We want to be the CEO after graduating. It doesn't happen like that. So give it that time. That's very, very important. Second thing is, of course, in India, we still not seeing much of it because people are not seeing so much value. It's coming. The mindset is changing. But again, US and all that have been always ahead of the game because that's an investment. Again, I am not. It's all the way we grew up because we thought that everything is here. And yes, it's important that we don't rely too much on machines because the classic example which I give is yeah, I wanted to be a fighter plane pilot, but having said that, I come from a Bengali family, single child, so my mother was always against it. So that's why my favorite example is all about aeroplanes and all that. So the example which I give is, an airplane will tell you that this is your fuel is running low, the weather is bad. But finally, it's the pilot who has to make the decision whether to crash land or not. The machine cannot decide for you. That's why it's very important that machine and human beings will exist together. So that's why you understand that it's a power of power of with. It's not machines versus humans. That's the thing we have to understand. The best, again, it's yet to come. We are still in a very nascent state in India because there's a lot. The kind of data which we are generating, it's again. Then, of course, at the end of the day, don't use analytics as a fancy dashboard. At the end of the day, you are trying to solve a business problem. You need to make a decision. That's very important because a lot of time I ask people, what is analytics? Oh, I build a fancy dashboard. But what do you do about it? But if just somebody is doing it, don't just do it. Because there's a company called Nagarjuna Group in based out of Hyderabad. They have 13 group companies, 13. And when we went to them that why don't you look at analytics? We said we are okay with Excel. I think Excel is a very good analytical tool as long as it works. So don't look at a very sophisticated algorithm or software because it's all about the fitness of purpose. That's very important because a lot of times we try to build sophisticated algorithms, spend a lot of money, but do you actually need it? That's very, very important. The majority things we have seen in marketing and customers because understand that we exist because of the customer. You can have the best product, you can have the best service, but if you don't have a customer, everything falls flat. So analytics typically, of course, financial institutions have used it, but it's all customer facing where you have to, because everybody looks at ROI, right? The CFO will never give you money if they don't see that. In fact, if you look at your MBA, you are looking at ROI. I have invested so much, what is the kind of salaries I will get? Of course, it's a very different thing. Is a lot of you want to become entrepreneurs. Very good because we never had the mindset to become an entrepreneur. But that's a very welcome change, I will say. And the structure is always a challenge because the kind of data we try to build an algorithm, and we try to structure everything. But there's a lot of unstructured data which is happening through social media. So that's always a challenge, and that's why your role, right, young students, you have to put a structure to it. See, we don't look at a right or a wrong answer, but we look at how you are able to logically think about it. And finally, of course, there are a lot of barriers still there. It's in a nascent state. Understand that. That's very, very important. Analytics, we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot which we can do. In India, we are still not there because the mindset is saying it's an investment. Why should I even look at it? What benefit it will give? If you look at it, the examples which you have seen, most of them are actually from abroad, right? Of course, Indian startups are doing a lot of things, but still, if you go to any of these traditional companies, there's still a mindset which is actually causing a problem. Now let's look at the evolution of the analytics. I will just quickly go through the journey. Yeah. So I will talk about again, these are some of the examples from US. So it's about good business decisions. Remember that a lot of times people feel that I will develop something on R and Python and give it. But does it help us make a better decision? So if you look at it, all this madness, all this data churning, at the end of the day, it's all about trying to create a value, trying to make a good decision. Always link your outcome with what you are trying to do. Don't do it just for the, if Excel I said works fantastic, as long as it serves their purpose. Don't invest just because my competition is doing it, just because it's fashionable to do it. Again, and link everything together. And as I see that engineers are less, and don't think that because you are not an engineer you cannot do analytics. Analytics is not just about maths. Because if you look at it, my batchmate, he is a master's in comparative literature. His quant score was more than mine. And he is a very brilliant guy, but he chose to do something different. He runs a production ring. He makes movies. But understand that just because you don't have maths, just because you have from a different background, doesn't mean that you cannot do it. I had a major in marketing and finance. I've never worked in finance. Spent a lot of time in the tech space, but I did not take a single course of tech. So it's all about mindset. Just because you don't have an exposure, you can always do it. That's what I'm just trying to. Now, this is again based on some of the things, results, we look at it. Business also understand it's all about better decision. Right, it's a no-brainer, but just I wanted to see, you have to, whatever you say, it's all data, the power of data, because in God we trust, others have to bring data to them. Very important. So whatever business case you are making, you have to make a data-driven kind of, that mindset has to come. Because you just cannot make a motherhood statement that, because typically what, again, nothing against anybody, because I am also an MBA, so we have a tendency to make motherhood statements. The company should do this. But where is the data to back it up? Because if you try to go and make a presentation to the board, ask for funds, they will always ask for where is the data. If you don't back it up with the data, if you're building a business case for analytics, that's very, very important. And you should know which is good data, which is bad data. In fact, most of our projects, 70% of time is wasted on cleaning data. Very suboptimal use of anybody's time. But that's how it is. The quality of data is like that. Again, understand that people believe that we should believe in gut feeling. Gut feeling, I am not against it. That is needed. So sometimes you should have to listen to your heart. But understand that it's not an exact science. It's a science and an art. You have to trust your data. You have to trust your gut feeling. But don't put everything on a gut feeling. It may work for certain times, but understand that business always doesn't work on a gut feeling. It always has to. That's why they say management is a science and art. Why? Because it's never an exact science. There is an element of gut there. But understand that you need to rely on data. That intuition, where you guys think, see what worked. I will take an example. I spent a lot of time with Infosys. They started in 1984, 82, I think. and they struggled with their first customers. And in 1990, all the founders decided that we'll sell off the company because the data said everything was negative, cash flow negative, no profits. I think Narayan Murthy was the only person who stood up and said, no, we are not going to sell it. And I think the rest is all history. This is a very classic example of how gut feeling works. But having said that, I will never tell you that rely everything on a gut feeling. Sometimes you have to listen to your heart. And this is how I think that was more of an exception which worked, because if you look at the way startups today, unfortunate, the layoffs. Because don't have a very good business model. People are trying to get a valuation and sell off. They're not trying to do a startup. They're trying to just get some funding and sell it off. I think Sabir Bhatia was a classic example when sold Hotmail to Microsoft, and again that was way back and made some 400 million, and I think that's history. So that's why people are trying to copy that model. So understand that you have to rely everything on data, not just on your gut. Yeah, let's now look at a lot of times in any organization, we look at analytics as a local thing. Like the marketing department wants to run it, the finance department wants to run it, and they're a very siloed approach. It duplicates your effort. Let's look at your MBA course. If you have to do everything on your own, right? You cannot do it. The course is designed in such a way that a single student cannot read everything. That's why you work in groups, right? Of course, you are competing, but understand that we are looking at an era where you compete and collaborate both, because we tie up with a lot of companies because we have to go to the market fast. And the problem is, I cannot do everything on my own. And if I can't do it, somebody else will. So understand that it's never a localized effort, and take steps one at a time. People try to conquer the moon in 3 months, 6 months. It doesn't happen like that. So that again, I'm just quoting certain people who have believed in it to make a case that yes, it works. Maybe in India you might not have seen so much because business is still not geared up to really understand the value. But I think worldwide people have actually benefited out of it. Now understand that this is again, does it improve our competitive position? Again, don't do it just for the sake of doing it. If it helps, so that's why you have to structuring the problem, looking at why do you want to do it. That's very, very important. In fact, a lot of times people just jump into the bandwagon saying that just because my competition is doing it, just because it's a fashionable thing, don't do it, because it's not going to help you, because you don't want to, because companies are not generous that they will give you a lot of money to run an experiment. Of course, you need to fail fast and do everything on your own, but understand that if there is really a business case, if there's an ROI, then only do it. Otherwise, just don't do it. Now, in fact, if you look at it, some of the findings which we did, again, it's a race, as I said. Don't expect results overnight. In fact, if you look at it, there's a lot of skepticism, like, will it help me? So be patient and always look at something which you can look at the low-hanging fruits and make a business. The best part is look at your customer-facing applications, because that's the way it's very fast. Because in e-commerce, why you are seeing a lot of things there? Financial institutions, why you are seeing? Because it's all the customer-facing applications where you see a lot of analytics, because that is where you're directly hitting your revenue. Because the procurement guys, the finance guys, you don't really, they impact the customer, but you don't really see a lot of ROI. It's not very easy to look at. So primarily what we have seen is marketing and the customer facing roles. We have seen more of this being, but other things, in fact, the manufacturing guys are where there is a lot of problem, because of course cost is one part, but understand that there's still a lot of resistance that should I be investing in that. So that's where people are looking. See, all boils down to ROI. Understand that. Now let's understand where the money is. It's okay, technology is sometimes. Yeah, so two areas where we have seen maximum, if you look at it, of course, in terms of cost reduction, people are looking at cost. So that's where it directly impacts your bottom line. And of course, in terms of the production, if you can get a phenomenal improvement, that's where I think we have seen the maximum. So understand that it does drive, it's all driven by ROI. But one good thing which has happened out of COVID, CFOs have stopped looking at ROI now. They are now looking at a EVA or economic value added. It's everything. That's one good part which has come out of COVID. Otherwise, it was all an ROI. I invest so much, what is I'm getting? It was very difficult to justify an ROI for an analytics project. So if you look at it, who typically runs these projects? It's not the CEO. CEO always has other things to look at. It's usually the business unit or the division head. They drive the initiatives. Understand that, because when you are looking at a career, you look at who is actually driving these decisions. CEO or the CFO, the CXO, they are, of course, will oversee it, they are the sponsors for it. But if you look at it, it's usually a business unit head who is looking at all these initiatives. So that's why it's very, very important when you're doing a buy-in, you know which are the stakeholders. Why I'm talking about it. Because every organization, if you look at it, there's a lot of politics involved. See, some of the things I'm telling you in an MBA course, you're taught everything. But one chapter I remember from my OB, I think power and politics. So the two most important things which I have learned that you should, I don't say that you should get into politics, but you should learn to protect yourself. Because you're sitting in a very secure classroom, it's very secure. Out there, it's very bad. I'm telling you, trust me, it's very bad. And particularly with customers, Indian customers, nothing against anybody. They're very, very abusive and you cannot abuse back. Understand that. So that kind of environment talking about, that's why it's always, you have to look at your stakeholders because these are the skills which you may not learn here. You will learn a lot of your theory, you will do projects. But these people skills and all that, because as you grow up, the people skills become very important. But initially, you have to be expert, you have to be domain experts. Nobody is going to give you a job if you say, I know little of everything. For 10 years, 15 years down the line, when all of you will become CXOs, you have to look at, it's more about people, but understand that it's about how one function talks to another function. Classic example, marketing guys, you look at a segmentation, you look at a target market, you look at a positioning, right? And then you say that there is a gap, I will float a new SKU. Very good. As a brand manager, your responsibility is over. But as a company, can you distribute the product? Is your supply chain robust enough to distribute the product? Unfortunately, the way the B schools function, a marketing case is always looked at from a marketing angle. Don't do that. Look at other aspects because world has changed. We are talking about diversity, inclusion, everything. Why? It's not a fad. It's about the problems are very different. That's why we need different set of people who can actually come together. So that's why we have to just look at it the way, even analytics, we have to look at it way how each function talks to another function. Because that thinking we have to start developing. It doesn't happen overnight. I have learned it the hard way because everything I used to look at from an operations, and of course I had a major in finance, but I know I struggled with the finance subjects. But of course, I say don't take a major, it's up to you, what are your interests are. But understand that don't shy away from this interaction because 10 years you are investing today for a better future, 10 years, 15 years down the line, you will really understand why you needed this. This interaction across various functions, and that's where analytics plays a lot of role because the customer facing role, it has a directly implication to your procurement, your inventory, to your supply chain, to your logistics, to your finance. So that thinking I think you have to change. That's the mindset which all have to change. That's very, very important. Now again, as I said, it's not we're spending money, we're trying to make a better world. It's a better future. That's why companies are looking at investments. Companies are actually, in fact, it's a choice whether you want to work for a hardcore analytics firm or you want to be part of an analytics function of an end user company which use a lot of analytics. Because if you are, suppose we are working with Unilever, I think FMCG is one of the markets where they use a lot of analytics, in fact, for the distribution, because the distribution costs are very high. And they know if you look at Uber, Ola, it looks very easy, right? That you look at which route is red, which route is green. But all this did not happen overnight. So people are looking at all these things and understand that everybody knows theory. You know R, Python much better than me. There's no doubt about that. But where you can apply it, the application becomes very important. Again, technology is here for us to stay. That's very important. But understand that I don't expect you that you will learn the code, not needed. But at least today, tomorrow, you will be leading projects for analytics. But if you don't understand how R works, if you don't understand how Python works, you will not be able to guide your team. Again, I don't expect you that you will do coding, but at least you have to understand the fundamentals. You should go through the grind. See, MBA again, you will hate me for this. It doesn't give you anything. It gives you an edge, but it's never a shortcut to success. Because when I graduated, I was placed in Lafarge Cement, and for the first 6 months, I was actually counting bags in a railway wagon. And I was getting very frustrated. Why am I doing it? Then I later understood the way the bags are packed in the railway. There's a science for it. Similarly, if you look at any Unilever CEO today, they have all been management graduates. They have sold sachets, shampoos, traveling in trucks in villages, and all have gone through the grind. I'm again reiterating, if you don't know the business, if you don't understand how it works, you cannot make a decision. Because I am saying again, you will hate me for this. People expect that just because I'm an MBA, I should be head of strategy, I should do this. It doesn't happen overnight. You are lucky if some company takes you at that position, but understand that you have to spend. Again, it gives you an advantage, but MBA at the end of the day, you have to all go through the grind. It's a packaged experience of 200 years, which are given as a capsule. It gives you a lot of edge, definitely. But don't think that the case study which you read today, you can apply it blindly. That's where I think a lot of people go wrong. The startups have gone wrong because they have taken an idea born out of US and not looked at the Indian conditions. I will give a very classic example. I started my career with Tata Motors. We had these Euro 2 norms coming in. We had the Cummins engines. We had a joint venture with Cummins engine. So 6 months down the line, we realized that the drivers were refusing to drive our vehicles. Then we thought that why? And we collected a lot of data from the field. And the real problem was, if you look at a typical American Cummins engine, the exhaust pipe goes below the feet of the driver. For US market, it's a cold country, right? Fine. But think about a hot Indian summer. If the exhaust pipe goes below the feet of the driver, they refuse to drive. So that was a great learning. We went back to the drawing board. We redesigned the whole thing. Again, there we collected data and we made a decision. So again, don't blindly copy an idea. Just because that's why the startups have actually failed, because it's an idea. It's not wrong to borrow an idea, but look at the conditions where you're operating in. Don't just apply it because unfortunately, I come from an era where internet was just very nascent. So everything was not available over the internet. So we still had to go through loads and loads of books. But I think now it's very easy to get information. But don't just again, that's what my learning has been. And particularly because it's very easy to find out. That's where I think you have to be very careful on how you apply your. I'm talking about all this because that's how I'm trying to link everything together. So again, if you look at it, again, data, I spoke about it, again, Anshuman spoke a lot about it, so it's important that data is important, but look at relevant data, because we have too much of data today. and because our systems are fogging because we are trying to churn everything. So it's very, very important if we can spend some time building an algorithm where the data is at least clean. So that's where I think the real challenge is. Again, as I said, 70% of our projects are spent in cleaning the data, not a good way of using analytics. So in fact, if you look at it, some of the findings, if you look at it, it has increased sales for innovation, for financial drivers. This is where most of the things they do work. And again, Anshuman spoke a lot about some of these use cases. I will not repeat them. So understand that this is where we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot to go. So if you look at it again, as I was mentioning, we need to learn from all other. Of course, not everybody will share a lot of data, but understand that it's a collective effort. We learn from other departments. We learn from. In fact, COVID. In fact, if in Europe, automobile was really down. So what they did is, all the car makers in Europe they collaborated and came up with a platform because the major problem during COVID was visibility to the tier 2 suppliers. Nobody really thought about it. And everybody was losing money because of that. So the European car makers, they came together, they built a platform, analytics platform, and they were able to track the tier 2 suppliers, and that way I think the automobile industry started moving up. So this is a classic example of competition and collaboration, because people thought that that's the best thing to do. Classic example, a price war. Price war doesn't help anybody, because if you remember 10 years ago, Unilever and P&G went into a fight over prices. Everybody was trying to reduce prices to gain market. And we realized both of them were losing money. Unfortunate that they have a cartel that, in fact, cement industry works on a cartel that they have fixed the price that way. Again, that is where I think the data which showed that if you reduce your prices so much, no brainer, but everybody is actually losing money. So this is, I think, you have to really look at the application point where you can, again, don't use it just for the sake of using it. So if you look at it, there's a power struggle. I spoke about the politics part. So in fact, marketing tries to say we have a better tool than finance. Finance says we have a better tool than supply chain. I think for a company, for a departmental head, you are trying to locally optimal it, but for a company, it actually is a. In the initial days of your career, you will face all this. I'm just saying it because I have learned it the hard way. But 10 years, 15 years down the line, when you are at the top job, you will understand that this is what is killing your company. So that's very, very important that you look at where you are investing your money in. Because localized analytic efforts doesn't help. If marketing has come up with something, can it be reused for finance? Because that's where you are saving money. That's very, very important. Again, some of the leading barriers is, again, as I said, capturing it. It's still a problem because Excel sheet, no finance guy, no planner will do away with it, but you can manipulate it. So that's why if you have a better way of capturing data, again, there are very low-cost startups which actually offer very, very good solutions around data capture. Because I'm talking about all this because you have done a brilliant job in developing an engine, but if your input itself is faulty, the output you can understand. Like Google Maps, great thing, but I had horrible experiences because I got lost because of Google Maps. So it has happened. So understand that don't rely on the machine 100%. That's very, very important. Data is important, but I had horrible experiences with Google Maps again. So the more you are getting into this, you will learn. So that's where I'm trying to say is the data capture, as long as it's real time, as long as there is no manual intervention, it's more authentic. But the moment you ask somebody to key in data, because as human beings, we all make mistakes. That's okay. That's why we are human. And understand that wherever there is a routine, wherever we have a history, I think machines can do a better job. But one-off cases, you will still need a human being to do that. That's very, very important. So in fact, if you look at it, whether it's a centralized or decentralized approach, I think what historically we have seen is that a centralized approach works better for the company, not for your department, because you will start your career, you will work in a very specialized function. So for you, maximize your department's ROI will be, that's fine, there's no problem with that. But as an organization, it's better to have an organization KPI where you link, because typically between purchasing and inventory, where is the problem? Because inventory guys don't want to stock a lot of inventory because their balance sheet is it, and purchasing guys wants to order less because their KPIs are it. So can't we have a KPI which is for the organization, which affects both of them? So I think this is where a new thinking, because the problem is we don't challenge assumptions. If you look at the typical example, if you have to move goods from say Kanyakumari to Gujarat, first thing people think that I should use road. Road is the most uneconomical way of transporting goods. It's very expensive. Next, we look at railways. Again, railways, we are at the mercy of Indian Railways, because if you look at it, we have to canvass with the Indian Railways for a rate. In fact, if I in Northeast, the food grains get a priority, so it's very difficult to get a rate. Next, air we have not developed so much. We still see that it's expensive, but air is not expensive. See, when I was a student, I could not afford an air ticket. It was so expensive. But then air ticket came in. They had this 1 rupee ticket. And I think that changed the atmosphere, right? In fact, same thing with air cargo. We are seeing a lot of things, and again, analytics has helped us, because if you look at the ROI, air cargo is still, in fact, Turkish Airlines, they made a lot of money during the pandemic just by shipping cargo because passengers were not operating. Indian Railways, they lose a lot of money on passengers, because if you book a rail ticket, you will see a line that 23% has been subsidized. So Indian Railways never make money out of passengers. But unfortunately, due to political reasons, the cargo is always slow. It never gets the kind of importance. I think this is where you should start challenging the assumptions. So coming to the point is, we have to move goods from Kanyakumari to Gujarat. Why don't we use our coastal line? Because we are so used to working in certain ways that we have to use roads and railways. India has a huge coastline, and that is 1/6 of the cost of what you use in other modes. So, it's my humble request that you start challenging the assumptions, because we have been in the industry for 20 plus years. We are so used to it. That's why we don't think differently. So, because you guys are fresh with ideas, you start challenging. It's very, very important. That's okay. People may not like you. Of course, you have to be really smart enough not to rub egos, because that's another thing you have to be very, very careful. But do challenge the assumptions. Is there a better way of doing it? So that's very, very important for us to look at it. And then again, if you look at it, it's important that you share all these. Again, this is from a global healthcare company. They have looked at a vertical integration, that they are trying to not look at a localized approach. And again, some of the barriers I just want to talk about it. Again, huge amount of data which we spoke about. You should know which is relevant, which is irrelevant. That's very, very important. And again, in fact, if you look at it, there are a lot of, this is right from our customers, so you know where we are. I'm just trying to give you an idea of analytics is, of course, a field which is a lot glorified. There's a lot of value there, but you have to know where we stand. And if you have to go to that state, it's very, very important that in which state I am. So if you look at it, as Anshuman spoke about, you should be asking the right kind of question, because a lot of times it's usually the people don't ask questions. People are so used to working in a particular way. So that's very, very important that you can not question it. So analytics will not help you. First of all, you have to question the data. You have to start questioning the recommendations. Because as I said, Google Maps. Because I did not question, similarly when Alexa says, in fact, there is a proper video from, I think from Sadhguru, where you are listening to Alexa and this is what you do. So of course, use your brain, because we have smart devices, but as a generation, I think we have not becoming more smarter. That's unfortunate, because these smart devices are actually making us dull. Because right now we rely on the machines for everything. So I'm talking about all these things because if you look at it, machines are important, data is important. We are using analytics because the kind of data, the human brain will need years to process it. but we want things fast, so that's why we are trying to use machines. But understand that nothing beats a human judgment. Don't ignore it. So if you look at it again, adoption is very low. If you look at it, people look analytics. I will just build a report. That is not analytics. I will build a fancy dashboard. That is not analytics. At the end of the day, how is it helping you make a better decision? That's what I think matters. And if you look at it, quality of data, the skill set is a major challenge. And it's good news for you because you come into that field, and I think this is where we are struggling with, because we are really not getting people who really understand analytics. This is where I think, and it doesn't matter if you don't have experience, because unless somebody is willing to bet on you, experience cannot come unless you try it. In fact, a very classic example again, there were three monkeys sitting on a tree, and one of them decided to jump. So how many monkeys are left? Three only, right? The second monkey decided, we did not. So what I'm saying is, when you start your career, you just have to say, I can do it. And it's not a rocket science. I'm telling you, you just have to be there. It's not a you'll be able to really. So understand that this is where I think the value is. A lot of times we are still in a, because when professor spoke about the various phases, the descriptive, the diagnostics, the prescriptive, we are still at diagnostic. Something has happened and we try to find the root cause and try to analyze for the future. Sure. But that is not what is going to help us. Because if I go to the past and try to analyze, we will rarely get a situation which is exactly similar to the past. So if we have a mechanism where I can at least have some prediction for the future, that's what we are trying to do. But unfortunately, we are still in a diagnostic phase where we try to analyze why something went wrong and then take it. In fact, if you look at it, COVID, I think those companies did better which had done a what if scenario, because the simulation part is important. We all know it, but nobody really gave any importance to it. So as you have to think, what I think you cannot really take a crystal ball and predict everything. But if you have done your homework, you are better prepared. At least you will be 70%. Second is risk management. Everybody talks about risk, but I think COVID told us that risk, how important it is, because we take things for granted. Life is uncertain, but the thing is, I think COVID really taught us. So again, there's a lot of risk analytics which is being, people are looking at multiple models, trying to analyze what is the risk. See, risk will always be there, because today I'm standing here, I don't know what's going to happen the next minute. But understand that you should know what is the risk, what is the frequency of occurrence. Can I detect it? Because the risk may be very high, but if you can detect it, you are still okay. Then the severity. These all aspects you have to, analytics is going to play a lot of role, and that is where if you look at the world, and there's a lot of avenues. In fact, so I just wanted to break that barrier that don't think it as a fancy dashboard or finally you are trying to make a decision. That's very important. Link it to your business. That's the kind of thinking you have to do. Because a lot of times I see people, oh, I will build a model. But what does it help? So that's you have to be very, very clear. So what the future holds, if you look at it, the data and data monetization is going to be very critical, because right now people are talking about data is the new oil, whatever it is, new water, whatever it is. So data is critical and people are trying to monetize. In fact, there are certain companies who collect a lot of your point of sale data, and they are, again, I will not get into the ethical part of it, but they are actually selling data over a platform. So this is happening. So this is where I think a lot of power is going to come. Similarly, if you look at it, all about speed. In 1980s, I think none of you were born at that time. If you wanted to buy a Bajaj scooter, there was an 18-month waiting period, and we were okay with that. But today, I want it now. If you don't get it here, somebody else will. So because of the speed, in fact, I'm not in favor of a 10-minute delivery, because that puts a lot of risk on the driver. But what is all of it? It's about analytics, right? All these pizza delivery, they are looking at how much inventory, where, how much, what is the profile of the customer. They've always done a homework. And that's how they are trying to do a 10-minute, not a very good business model because somebody can come up with a 5-minute. It's risky. It's not a sustainable model. But again, here where we are seeing a lot of analytics coming in, where people are looking at inventory because the way things have moved that customer tolerance time has reduced drastically, but our manufacturing procurement, these times have not come down. So that's why you need to have inventory. People think that inventory is bad, but it's not because the CFO will say, I see inventory on my balance sheet. Why do you have it? Just in time doesn't work anymore. The problem is we have more of the bad inventory and less of the good inventory. Where analytics is going to play a role that how much, where, at what point of time. Because I'm talking about something tomorrow for a 3-hour standard delivery. Unless I have inventory, I cannot do it. A classic example I will give Asian Paints. I think one of the best companies to work with for industry supply chain and marketing. In the 1990s, if you go to any of these Asian Paints retail outlets, you ask for any color. If they don't have it, they will say, sir, we don't have it, we will have to build it for you. So that's a 3 to 6 months period. But today, go to any of these outlets, they will mix and match and give it to you. They have standardized the products in such a way that any color can be created at the company. It's like we are postponing it closer to the customer. So that's where analytics is going to play up because the challenge is today, supply chains have to be responsive and efficient. Efficient is like you are low cost, but today the way we are personalized products, customized products, every customer wants to feel important. If I have to do both responsive and efficient, we have to postpone it closer to the customer. In fact, Coke is experimenting in Europe. What they do is you have these health drinks. Go to a vending machine, ask for any flavor, the machine will mix and match and give it. It has not yet come in India, but it's very promising because for the company it's still a make to stock. But for you, you want a mango flavor with such things, you can actually choose it. It's like how you choose your, yes, absolutely. So this is coming in really very well. And I think the ultimate in customer experience, I think this is my last example which I want to talk about. I grew up in a very small place where we used to have these dairy farms and we used to see actually the cow being milked and that milk we used to consume. Then India was short on milk production. We had this Operation Flood. And again, as a country, unfortunately, we started getting this spurious milk. But now what, there's a company called Stonywell in Europe, what they are doing, they have used AR/VR that you can actually see the cow being milked and the milk actually coming to you. I think that's the ultimate in customer experience. They have used a combination of analytics and AR/VR technologies. Again, if I talk about it, it's all about what is possible. In fact, a lot of times we say it is not possible. But in fact, I spent some time working with an oil and gas in Doha. They have a ministry called Ministry of Possibility. If you go and tell them that this is not possible, they will refer you to that ministry and they will say why it is not possible. I think Qatar and all that, one of the safest countries in the world. And I'm strongly encouraging you should see the world because there's a lot to learn. India, of course, offers a lot. Similarly, the world also offers a lot. So this is again, I'm trying to tell you that don't just dismiss saying that this is not possible. Explore. You may fail, that's okay. But what I wanted to say is, the world, it's a canvas which is sitting on for you guys are bright, young. I think that's where. So thank you so much. So again, the talent is important. Look at your decision making and have one. I think that's what. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure and honor. Any questions again? Don't think that anything is a stupid question. Just believe that only you and I are talking. Just forget who else is in the room. If you have any questions, any queries, more than happy to answer. Okay.
Not exactly talking about Excel, but except Excel, sir.
Okay, I think R and Python you should learn because when few years ago R was a much better language and you don't need to really learn because all these snippets of R are available. But I think what happens that you are starting your career, so you will lead a team of analytics engineers who will work under you. But if you really don't understand, they will say, my boss is stupid. You don't want the situation. That's why I stress upon that. Learn it. You don't have to code it, but at least learn how the algorithm works. You should be able to do it. So I think R and Python should be good enough. And today you have all these softwares which are doing beautiful. Only you have to analyze the results because stress a lot on what you make out of it. But having said that, don't ignore R and Python because, as I said, you will be needing initially. It's a very cuts a very solid figure. If your subordinate comes and says that my boss doesn't know anything, so you will not get that respect. In fact, I remember when I joined Tata Motors, most of the workers were of my father's age. And they thought, oh, what you will do? I've spent 30 years. Oh, what? So that was a very embarrassing situation we may all have to go through. But I think that's where I think you will have to really learn the subject. So R and Python should be good. You don't have to go beyond it.
Sir, can you please elaborate the future of a business analyst, sir? Because we still not don't see that thing in a trend in India, sir.
That's okay. It's a lot of MNCs are setting shop in India. Traditional Indian company may not do it, but if you look at Unilever, P&G, all these MNCs, all these GICs have set shops in India. There's a lot of analytics which is already happening. It will take time because when ERP came in, there was a lot of resistance. People said, no, ERP is not going to work. Today, most of the Indian companies are ERP. Maybe it will take another 5-10 years, but finally, you have to have it. The only thing is, for whatever reason, we are still skeptical about a few things. But 5 years, 10 years down the line, you will really see a lot of analytics. It is going to come. Because India is always a little slow in adapting some of this. Because we think that everything can be done, but there is not too much of data. The brain cannot work like that. You will need years.
For analytics to come into play, you need data, and data has to be organized. Unfortunately, data is there within various organizations, but it is there in silos. And since there is no, there is not much effort or time spent in organizing this data and creating the data architecture within an organization. Even today, the largest amount of time that is spent is actually cleaning the data, identifying the data, looking at the gaps within the data, and so on and so forth. But prior to all of this, what is the primary thing that is required is the understanding the problem statement. How well you craft your problem statement actually is the most primary and important factor in all of this, and that's where you're, if you look at my presentation, there are 4 key pillars I was mentioning, right? So in that, one of the key aspects is logical thinking, structured thinking. How are you looking at the problem? Have you clearly defined the problem effectively, or is there that requires more iteration? Because not analytics may not be the solution to all. I think so. Yes, rightly highlighted. Because I'll give one classic example. Markowitz, who won his Nobel Award for modern portfolio theory, when it came to applying his own, deploying his own capital, he used what formula? 1 by n. You know what is 1 by n? If I have say 1 lakh rupees, I have 5 opportunities. I'll put 20% in each. And if you use your modern portfolio theory, it will give you a complex mathematics in terms of, okay, I'll give some 63% here, 8% there, and all that. But when it came to applying his own capital, he used simple heuristics called 1 by n. Okay. So again, but the thing is, you need to identify what is the problem, how well craft your problem statement is, I think, one of the important aspects, and then of course thereafter start looking at what are the data points that will enable helping you take those decisions is the second thing. So if you go to World Economic Forum and if you look at the skills that are required, you see many of those 10-12 skills that are highlighted, and that logical thinking, structured thinking, critical reasoning, and all of this play a very important role. Of course, not to forget your interpersonal skills and self-leadership. So that's why I had covered those 4 P's. One is the cognitive, self-leadership, your tech skills, and then your interpersonal skills. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anshuman sir, for clarifying our doubts really well. Thank you, sir, again. And thanks to Mr. Sandeep Chatterjee also for such an amazing session. And I think one of the best key takeaways from this session was machine and man has to exist together and machine will never take over us. Thank you, sir, again. Now it's time to have among us Miss Priya Gautam, Deputy Director at Virginia Tech India. Miss Priya is an alumnus of Bangalore and her core strength is in the field of marketing, strategy and technology. She has an invaluable 20 plus years of multifaceted experiences which include setting up of new businesses, startup to scale up expertise in small, medium and large enterprises. Her international experiences include working in US, ideating at large A2 city close to Chennai. She has won several accolades to her credit during her career and has also been featured in 100 MSME inspirational stories released by the Honorable Minister Mr. Nitin Gadkari in May 2020. She has been recently featured as in the FICCI Pride of Flow, a Chennai Startup Initiative 2022. I would now request Ms. Priya to come on the stage and share her thoughts. Alongside, I would request Ms. Madhumita ma'am to facilitate her with a small token of love. Please, ma'am. Thank you so much, Madhumita ma'am. Now, Priya ma'am, the stage is yours.
Thank you, and I think we are just between lunch and my long ending speech, so I'll try my best to outmeet the two prior speakers, but I think they did my job. Thanks, both of you. What all I wanted to say, you all said it. So I'm going to make it very short and easy for everybody here. There's nothing much that I have to say. So as I was introduced, I've been in the university for the last 10 years. The university itself is 150 years, so you know what portion of it I've spent my time. While this is coming up, how many of you all know Virginia Tech? Yeah, how many of you all know Virginia Tech?
I have.
I have only one. Any more? Okay. So I belong to that university, but we are Virginia Tech in India. Virginia Tech, as I mentioned, is about 150 years. We are celebrating 150th year. Now, this is in a state called Washington, D.C. You all know where Washington, D.C. is. I'm sure everybody does. Part of our families are there, right? Most of us. So it's about, a 2-hour drive from Washington, D.C. to a place called Blacksburg. Now, Blacksburg, as a town, is completely a university campus. So it's beautiful. And, why did they want to come to India? I think my previous colleagues answered. There's a lot of things that we have to do in the way we change the education. Right? So I can't be in a system where I beat the system, but I can enhance the career for students who are sitting here by adding what is relevant, what is current, and what I can give to the society back. So that's the reason why we chose to be in 5 continents in India. 5 continents, and one of the centers is in India. We have another one in Chile, another one in Switzerland, and one in North Korea. So in India, we are situated in Chennai, and in Chennai, we've got 2 locations. One is a research center, and one we are in a hybrid ecosystem of a startup, which is IIT Research Park. So these are the 2 locations that we are situated in. So here, the Vitruvian man, we always, this is a big signage in our office even in Chennai. All it means is, we all spoke about man and machine, right? So this is a very old Da Vinci, Vitruvian man. It means the model of humanistic engineering. Important to know. Every human has got engineering in the system. The engineering is taught, the engineering has to be felt, and today data is going to support all these things. Sorry about some overlap, I'm not sure for what reason. So just to give a recap, as a global university, we were established in 1872. I think none of us in this auditorium have been born then, but maybe it's one of the 7 generations we might be here after that, 7 incarnations. So we have about 31,000 plus students. The whole campus is vibrant with students, and we have over 1,400 faculty. They are called the full-time faculty, and all of them with PhDs. We have 9 colleges and 140 departments, over about 2 lakh to 3,000 alumni spread over 100 countries. We have campuses in Blacksburg, Falls Church, all this is in the Washington area, Arlington, Alexandria, and the other places that I mentioned is Switzerland. And operational expenditure of our university itself is about a 1.5 billion USD. Why India and why we're here is going to be the question. So I also wanted to cover upon the number of colleges that we have. We've got about 8 plus colleges, from life sciences to veterinary to data to business school and everything. Originally, Virginia Tech was a land grant university. It still is. It was given as a land to by a farmer, a rich farmer said, you do something in agriculture. So we are very popularly known for agriculture and agri-tech. And today, somebody who has to go from here has to have a higher JEE score in that to get an admission in agriculture. So that's the legacy. I just thought we should have the legacy placed in front because we are now working together with ABBS. So the vision of our provost, and it is basically the vision that he wanted and made this for India. He recently visited just pre-COVID, and then he realized there's one thing he asked me. He said, Priya, what do you think India has a problem in? So I said technology, this is that usual, right? I'm in between in terms of my the age as well as my experience. So I just said tech and all that. He said, you just think for a second, close your eyes. I said, okay, let me close my eyes and just think. What is India popular for? Then I thought again I said technology, problems, population, all that. He said, don't worry about that, just think again. So I closed my eyes and I said agriculture. India, 70% of our land is agricultural land. And do you know that India has the highest number of entrepreneurs? Yes, it is. Just farmers as entrepreneurs, yeah, and syndicate. They all. Then somebody spoke about Amul, the milk, cooperation and everything. So everywhere there is something called as an entrepreneurial gene in that person. So what are their problems is something that we have to understand, and that's the whole reason why, as a university, we want to serve countries wherein there is problems. We understand, we do research in that area, and try and provide solutions. Now, do we think in all our colleges we have research as a focus? Little bit. We need to be this much. Yeah. I think that's where the gap is. And so we are in both research and education. So Utprasam that I may serve is something that we all follow. It's our motto. And so the leadership, we have a board for India, and part of the leaders from the university are in the board of India. It's a completely Indian company as Virginia Tech India. We're a Section 8 not-for-profit entity, which means that whatever money that we are going to make out of this is only going back into research and education, and nothing is going to get repatriated. So the underlying fact is here we are going to serve. So what we do? So we have research, education, and we have outreach. So out of the 100%, we spend 70% in research, 25% in education, and another 5% in outreach. Outreach again, what we can do to make life better, waste wealth, or any problems that we have to do. And I have to quote, I don't know how many of you all remember that recently there was a landslide in Uttaranchal, right? So what happened there? Huh?
Road is
Yeah. And then, did anybody go and study about it? Why it happened? Can we avert this kind of a stuff?
nature, global warming.
It's also global warming, right? Climate change, the platelets are changing, everything. So what we did is this project was again something which got really, there was funding for this, and one of our faculty, again an Indian faculty living in the US, he's a water specialist, so he applied for this project and he won the project. Now what he wanted to do is, we as a university, we don't have students. They're called as a university, but we don't have students. The students are here are all corporates or students like you who come and study and then they move on. And so we partnered with IIT Kharagpur, where they had a lot more students. And then they said, hey, can you guys in India help us with something called as technology? So we said, okay, fine. So our university in Chennai has got a very large drone facility. So we traveled with the drones on the backpack and all that stuff, the surface transport and everything. So we reached there. And then we're very close to this landslide is the National Thermal Power Station. Now the guy said, hey, you can't fly the drone up on top. You cannot. It's a security breach. So we're wondering how to get this data now. We need data. Because we have to understand what is the area, where this happened, what is the prior film of this, what will be. So we flew this drone almost 30,000 feet above and captured the entire data and took the pictures. Again, we spoke about cameras, high resolution. What I'm trying to connect the dots is here. So we had a mishap. We had to study and so that we provide research papers for the future. So we understood this is what has happened, and then we flew the drones, took the pictures, and then finally the data that is being used to analyze what happened is something that is still ongoing. So the point that I want to do is we don't use data just with numbers. We also use it visuals. Point to be noted. So our research focus, I'm going to skip this, but our areas of research has been in advanced materials. So we work on graphene. Graphene again is a wonder material, they say, because it's hydrophilic and hydrophilic. So if you look at all the COVID protocols that happened, we use masks, right? So if we had coated graphene on that, because it doesn't attract water, because it's just hydrophilic and hydrophilic. So droplets won't have come, and then we won't have got the virus. So that's an application. So you have a research, you have an application, and you have a product to be done. Similar thing we could have done with the scrubs which the doctors wear. Many of these things can be done with all these kind of inventions and research. Now coming to the, I'll just touch upon the robotic part of it. So we're also working on a very interesting robotic project, which means we would have a ground support vehicle. We call it the GSW. Now you use this vehicle to go into any of these ICUs, take all this COVID protocol, clothes or the discards, take it in, everything is done robotically and put it into a bin and then they're discarded. So these are things which is in an advanced way that one should know that we are going to use a lot of these collection points of data to make what we want as products or informed decisions or anything else that we want to do with the data that we get. So the VT India ecosystem are layered around research, education, partnerships and collaboration. So research I spoke about. Now education is something that we wanted to do something which is different, which is cutting edge, which is not taught in the regular stream of things, and layer it with partnerships. So this is where we are with ABBS, and of course collaboration. So we collaborate with a lot of governmental bodies, institutions where we can sort of make meaningful inroads into giving the student the right kind of information, giving the corporate the right kind of data, and also at the same time fulfill the mission of Virginia Tech Foundation, which is funding us. I'm just going to skip this. We started in 2016, very new as an entity in India, but there's a lot of progress. So we have MOUs with large governmental bodies like the e-governance, the Electricity Board. We also have the National Institute of Ocean Technology, and so on and so forth. We're also an approved Department of Science and Technology Center. We are also a CSR approved center for any CSR funds to be deployed for research. And finally, I must tell you that we are talking about data today, 2022. We launched this course of what we started off as a journey into data way back in 2019, when still everybody was talking about data, but nobody had the clear picture about data. Even today, data has been loosely used, but I think there's a lot that is happening which probably we as individuals do not know, but I think it's important to know. Let me just pass this. Yeah. So why program in business analytics and AI? I think, as I told you all, my job was really beautifully done by my two predecessors, speakers here. But data is the future. I think whether we like it or not. So I've just put some, questions here. What are the disruptions that have happened in our own industry? Let's just ask these questions. The first one is, largest car company doesn't own any cars. Huh? No? Huh? Students. Uber, yes, and Ola. The largest movie screening company doesn't own a theater. Wow, there are many OTTs, but Netflix is the first one. The largest homestay doesn't own any hotels. Airbnb, yes. The largest communication company doesn't own a phone. You all got a phone. AT&T. Skype. So, then homegrown largest food chain industry doesn't own a restaurant. Swiggy, guys. Yeah. So these are the disruptions that have happened, and you people have been amidst of all this disruption, right? At least I should say that I was not a part of this disruption. I had the same old thing. I had to go to a restaurant, only two restaurants in our large city called Hyderabad, but very, very, difficult to go because you have to plan to take a car, go, and so it was a very difficult thing for us in the past. Let me be honest with you. I've sort of surpassed that. Now I don't even have to think what has happened in the past, but you just order. You have guests coming, you plan a menu, but now don't worry, guests, please come. I have Swiggy. So these are things that have made life easier for us. And I think all of us have agreed, and we are all cognizant that life has become easy because of disruption. And what problem did we solve? Population, explosion, money, everything got solved in this. So why we need data science? I've just listed out few examples. I think my colleagues did a deep dive into. I'm taking simple examples because I assume my audience was students and I kept it like that. But I think I'm sorry, mistake. I should put complex Tesla kind of examples. But just to tell you, Tesla car is test driven at Virginia Tech, and I did have an opportunity to sort of run with it on a test track. So we have a beautiful test track. It simulates fire, ice, fog, everything. So it's like a road where all these cars are used. So we, as a university, we have a tire institute, we have a testing unit, we have an autonomous system where even dummies are put in that to face the crash and safety. So all these things are done as a university because it's a university which is doing research and all that stuff. So now coming to why do we need data science? I heard a lot of you telling social media and all that, right? So I think from here, what was all about social media and what kind of data did you get? In Facebook, you get that?
It's all about social communication, what people feel like, what they do on daily basis. That's the data you get.
Okay. Another answer? Okay. Good point. Any others? But do you know that with Facebook we could have averted an uneventful event as well with the social scraping of data? So data is used to study the pattern among people. Data is used to study a certain kind of a disruption that would have happened. A lot of uh, crucial things have been averted with the social media analytics. So there was one example, I do not know, again I tell you about this example in Chennai it happened. There was a big, furor about having this Jallikattu. Jallikattu was that, playing with animals and in that particular event. Now what happened in that, had we had this data analytics on Facebook, because there was a high congregation point which was reached. Had we done the social media analytics, we could have averted that easily. But we hadn't done it because it was not so prominent. But I think today when we have all the tools and technology, we can actually do this kind of data scraping through on the social media. So that's one example. So you could use data from Facebook or any of the social media channels to avoid certain disasters. Amazon, what did they do? Huh? Amazon, yeah, everybody was using Amazon, right? Okay, that's the company did. What is it happening to you as a consumer? It's changed your buying pattern, right? It's changed your buying behavior. You used to go to a shop to buy toothbrush, now you wait for it to come. I have my cousins and nephews and everybody, they don't even go and buy soap from a shop now. Comes from Amazon. So the other effect of it is laziness, but the part of it is that we've changed the way we shop. Now here, improving e-commerce, it's also telling you if you're buying Rexona, a friend has Sandeep told about levers quite a lot. There must be a competitor to levers, something else must be showing on the side, saying that maybe you should buy this, maybe you should add a face wash to it. Things like predictive analytics has been shown on the side. Right? Amazon is the largest consumer of data. And again, I want to tell you all that Amazon is setting up a international innovation center, and Virginia Tech is a part of that. It's in Arlington. It's going to be launched in 2027. The first phase is going to happen in 2024, so 2 years from now. Yeah. So that way, there's a lot of data. That means Amazon itself requires 10,000 people every year for just doing data analytics. This is proof. And you can Google and see about Virginia Tech Innovation Campus, and you'll find a beautiful campus that's coming up with 3 universities. One of it is arts, but the campus itself is it's called an innovation campus. The third one is Uber. What exactly did Uber do with the data? They optimize rides, right? So you could actually see the rates changing based on the kind of time duration or what time of the day you were using the cab. So those are the things that they used it for. Of course, I'm going to Bank of America increase customer experience. So I think not only Bank, other companies also have used this data. Today, I think there's a layer of data. I do not know how many of you keep getting calls about loans and car loans and all that. Must be fed up, right? Car loans, house loans, whatever loans. But why don't they use data to get intelligence on who you are, profiling before they call, and they make it very informed. So that is what is used for. Instead of I'll have a cloud bubble saying that okay, Dr. Mazluta has already got a house, she's got a car. What else can I sell to her? That will do a different kind of a selling. So data can be used for such intelligent marketing itself. Next is Airbnb. It improves searches, locations. It also has a huge data bank of where all they should probably go. But the way they've structured the whole thing is a 3-click way of getting things. So very intuitive, very informative, very easy to navigate. Lastly, Spotify. I think, Ashutosh also used the example. Spotify is a fantastic example of how music is heard today. We had Amazon, we had Apple Music, but this changed the way. It's most expensive, but then still change the way that you listen to music. So everywhere that we are all having touch points, data is used. So the other 10 technologies, technology trends worldwide, I thought it is important for you all to know, though it is not, for management students, but you should know, as Sandeep did mention, saying that don't think that what you get is data and as MBA people you are only going to do a certain task, but you should know where things are moving in your direction, in your space, in your lives for you to make that. So yeah, so intelligent and unintelligent systems is autonomous, augmented, AI driven. There are two common things I put, privacy and ethics and quantum computing. Important for you all to know. Everything has got a mesh. In the digital, we have digital twin. We all know what digital twin is. Any guesses? Google Maps is an example of digital twin. What could be done manually has actually have a layer of a digital arm. So we used to still go from place A to place B by having books, maps. Now the maps have become real time. So that's a digital twin. A simple example. Empowered Edge, impressive. Empowered Edge is again cars. Two cars are talking. In the car, it is taking like I don't know how many of you have got the cars or seen the cars, which sort of understand the moment I sit, it takes my AI data and puts my seat in the right position. It's actually so those are all the new age kind of and now we work with a large car company and the problem statement that MD is telling us, I want the car to see my face and say, if I'm irritated, play a very nice, sober music in the car while I'm driving. So those are things that are advancements that we plan to do, and a lot of research that has to do. How do they get? So facial recognition plays a lot of play here. So these are some of those examples. So the mesh that we use is blockchain and smart spaces. So blockchain, we all know how it is going to work. So security, all those aspects of it. Two things I said, privacy and ethics is important. Quantum computing, again, a very important layer to know. So that's why this whole thing comes in this kind of. Yeah, so changes in the learning style. I think all of you have been the COVID victims, where you all have learned online. You could have not thought about learning your curriculum online, but it's all made it a reality. I think today with Zooms and Teams and Google Classrooms and all that. So that is one way. We also have all the data somewhere in a distributed cloud environment. So whatever email that you want to pick, it's all there in the cloud. You don't have to be sitting in an office on-prem solution. It's all moved to the cloud. Autonomous things, blockchain, AI security. I think all of us are training in this kind of names, and everybody might be wondering why and where we're doing. But it's the most common thing that people are moving to. A lot of companies are still in the legacy system, but we will take maybe another couple of years to move. So different applications using data science. I wanted to bring this slide up here because we did speak about different places that we use, but as carriers, these are all the places that one could think about getting yourself engaged in. So in e-commerce, in manufacturing, in banking, in transportation, healthcare, if you look at, I'm putting up the whole gamut of things as to where each of these applications sort of resonates with your profile or work, the knowledge that you have, and why you have to do this. So coming to the certificate program of, program in business analytics and AI, we partnered with ABBS, and so I stand here large as life. But the point that I want you all to know is, this is a conscious decision that ABBS as a university has taken to partner with the best. I think Dr. Madhumita did speak about it. But I want to tell you, we did not start data analytics in the last 3 years or 4 years. For us, data has been in the last 30 years. In fact, our professor, Dr. Tarun Sen, who is the dean of the program, he's done bond rate predicting even earlier. So prediction of, all this, the financial downturn that happened. All these things, there are a lot of papers that he's already written. And it's only thing today we have tools, and that time we were doing it in different way. So if you look at the combination of experience and technology, that's where we bring a difference in the way we do the program. I really want to touch upon this slide. You can be anybody and anything, don't worry about it. The pedagogy that we use is data, technology, model, and domain. Like my friend said before, data is unstructured. We do not know from where data is coming. And there's a lot of challenges today that we have. We have data, but it is very unstructured. So a student learns how to get the data, put them into structured format, which is useful, and then use domain expertise, which means you could be a technologist, you could be a manufacturing person, you could be a salesperson, you could be a researcher, or you could be anything. The domain is healthcare. Any of the domains will be the next pillar that we work on. Then use the models. What is the business relevance? He spoke about it so beautifully. That's why I said I don't have to sell, but I'm just explaining how what he said is going to be the application that you want to learn. And last is the layer of technology. Now, technology can keep changing every year. I think from the time we were in the millennial world, the technology kept on changing, right? So everything is new and it's evolving. So what we fundamentally teach the students in this particular course is data, domain, knowledge, and technology. So you have to know how to take the data, how do you cull the data into what you want. You want to make meaningful sense out of it, so you take the data from there. Then you use different kinds of, so if it's a large voluminous data, you use big data. If it is small, then you use a different kind of. All these things are taught to students in a way that they have to use it.
I will go talk about business analytics.
This is the curriculum. There are some of the brochures left with the university you could check. And the learning outcomes, end of the day, what a student would learn out of this entire program is something that you will remember, that you always be relevant and current, because it is program is evolving every year. It is not something that we started in 2019 as what students get now, but every year we take inputs. We have brought up industry which sort of intercepts with our course, and then that is something which is sort of put in as a part of the learning, and then produce the program. So these are two things that I want to showcase here. One is our academic and industry faculties, and two is the certificate that you would get from Virginia Tech US. It's a direct certificate from there. So the faculties here, a couple of them, I would want to call upon Dr. Reza Bharti. If you look at Reza Bharti as a profession, we call them professional of practice. So this person not only works as a KPMG fellow faculty, but he also teaches in the program. So today, if you look at most of our faculties that we try and get, I think even in your institution, you get a lot of industry intervention, because industry problems are different from what you learn. Let's face the fact that our curriculum doesn't get updated as much as you want to, but if you work with industry, you know the problem and you try to fix them through case studies. So that's exactly what we try and follow. So we have other, relevant Indian faculty called Dr. Shankar Venugopal, Vice President of Mahindra Technical Academy. Again, we teach a lot of case studies and for engineers in their, mobility division. And we also have Dr. Srinivas Gundri, he's from Tata Motors. We have other faculty like Dr. Madhavan Mukund. Another important thing that we as an organization or a university did was to add a layer of mathematics. And nobody else does that. The reason again is to refresh the memory of a lot of students who would have probably done only up to the 12th standard, but they need a little bit of regression to crunch the data. So we've introduced that model as well, so that's why it's different. Then what distinguishes our program? I don't think I want to read it, but the faculty is over 30 years experience, and they have been working in decision theory and all that even before all this data and the layer has come. And they also take global perspective. So today we're not looking at just India as a business problem. We take global case studies and we work with them. With only program focused on what I said, integration of data, technology, domain, and knowledge together. So that's the difference, and nobody else offers this kind of a thing. And on the right hand side, I'm really not going to touch because I don't think I have to tell you all what an opportunity you guys are missing out if you do not do this program. End of the day, all of us are going to be in those 5 pillars that I showed you, right? Facebook, Google, we're going to continue living with those. There's no way we're going to get out of that. So if you have to be in that, you have to be a part of this. Yeah. So there is a very interesting component of an internship that we give for the students. It's, the whole program is structured for 6 to 7 months, and 3 months is a capstone project where you actually work as an intern and get live case studies from companies which are live. It's not like a historical data or we take from Harvard Business School and then do. So that's where you get really a hands-on approach, which again is a standard statement of Virginia Tech. It's hands-on and minds-on training. We don't do training with set data. There are some set data for your package, but you get to work with real-time industry use cases. So that's the highlight of this program. And I think end of the day, when you are graduating, there are already companies which are waiting for you all to join. But if you want to take the journey of an entrepreneur, I think it's important. Whatever you guys you should know, have data as a knowledge. Again, important to understand, validate it even before you sort of say that this is what I'm going to be doing without having a humanistic approach of that. Again, so there's always a layer of trying it, mixing both. You have data, you have knowledge, you use your domain expertise, experience of people, and then have a result. So with that, I just wanted to end the presentation. Lovely seeing you all today. And any questions? More than willing to answer. So I'm assuming that everybody understood. Do you have a question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Priya ma'am, for this wonderful session. And I guess all our doubts regarding the business analytics course that is going to happen in MBBS is clear. So now I think everyone is tired and it's time for a regal. I request all the coordinators to guide our dignitaries to the lawn where lunch is being served. We'll resume our next part of the session with an amazing panel discussion and with our next speaker, Mr. Nilesh Gupta. After the lunch, so it's for 45 minutes, and I wish everyone will be back by then. Thank you so much. Students, please stay back. And the faculties and the dignitaries, you can please proceed with the lunch. And we'll start again at 2:10. So please everyone be back.